My name is Lawrence Kurfiss. I write stories about ordinary working people, and I want my stories to be known better. So I've decided to come and read them to whoever wants to hear. This story is about a guy named Al reminiscing about his younger days when he arrived in Fayetteville, Arkansas on a freight train when he was 17 years old in 1937. He met this lady named Miss Cornelia, who was an old timer, quite well off, and she got him some work, and she got him some food, and she got him a place to live, and this is what happened. The story's called Albert and Miss Cornelia. Testing. Okay, we're rolling. A couple of nights into the ride, I told you about that time in Fayetteville, Arkansas, when me and Tyree and Melvin restored the Confederate Cemetery. And then after, when I was on my way to being a successful contractor, skipping out on a girl who tells me I have put her in the family way. Well, maybe so, maybe no. This girl had slept around, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only possible candidate for fatherhood. It took me a couple of days to come to the conclusion that I could not spend my life with this woman no damn way. She was already dragging me to parties and too many family dinners. Her dad was a Baptist preacher and a man of great influence in the community. People were trying to line me up for jobs all over town months ahead just on this big preacher's recommendation. I'm sure a lot of guys would have found this to be an outstanding setup. It didn't seem so to me at the time, not at all. Nothing against the girl. She was good looking and she'd do just about anything you asked her to in the sack. Trouble was, after the old jump and bump, we had nothing to say to each other. She had never really been anywhere, and her whole world was that little town and all of her friends and cousins and the church. One night I was planning to stage the old "it's not you, it's me" show. Sure, we can still be friends, you bet. Except before I even opened my mouth, she announced that she was knocked up. Oh, shit. When I asked who was the lucky guy, she started crying. It's a joke, baby. Please don't cry. Come on. She asked me how I could be so horrible as to suggest that there was even the slightest possibility of any other man being her mighty swordsman. Said she hadn't had her period for over 2 months and there's already a lump or a bump or whatever you call those things. She's scared. What are we gonna do? We, huh? Shit. Well, we would have to see about that. I wasn't going to argue with her. It probably really was me. However, the Immaculate Conception would have had to gone down about the first time we ever had sex. I knew for sure that at the time she was still officially going with some junior realtor named Bob. Made no difference to me. They only lasted another week after she had that first taste of my good stuff. Ladies love outlaws, don't you know? She was up and down the steps to my room above the garage workshop many times, and I never wore a condom. You could only get those at greasy old gas stations and bars, and they were expensive. A quarter, Jesus. Well, this is 1937, that's a lot of money. So, most likely, it was me. I had it fixed up to leave town the following night. I went to meet my guys, Tyree and Big Mel. I had saved up a lot of money there, so I gave them each a month's pay. We made a good team, and I would miss them. Funny, a Yankee boy and 2 descendants of slaves doing a job none of these crackers would do for their own fallen heroes. I had to tell Miss Cornelia everything and beg her forgiveness for running. She blamed herself for not saying anything when she saw the preacher's daughter slipping up my stairs all those nights. I mean, this lady was from the 19th century, but she knew the score. She told me that a marriage between me and this girl would be a disaster for all concerned, but that she knew I would do the quote-unquote honorable thing and tell the girl face to face the truth, that I just couldn't hack marrying anybody just then. God would set it all right, she said. Well, that had never usually worked out for me, that is, relying on divine providence, but they say miracles happen every day. So I stuck it out for 2 more days, fixing everything in Cornelia's big old house. Came the big night. We went out for a stroll in the church's lovely garden. I never got a chance to give my speech, which was a good thing because I had no idea how to make "I'm running out on you, baby" play right. "Albert," she says, "I can't marry you. I've come to realize that I still love Bob. He's asked me to marry him, and I said yes. I'm sorry. I wouldn't hurt you for the world, but..." Well, hot damn. Now, of course, the trick was not to let on how secretly overjoyed I was at this fine news. I turned around and walked a few paces into the darkness, as if I didn't want her to see me start crying or something. Just to be an asshole and lay it on extra thick, I asked her if there was anything different I could have done to win her. This was too ridiculous to pursue, and I was trying my damnedest to keep from breaking out in a big grin. I finished it off by wishing her and Bob all the best. Bob's such a lucky guy, and all that sort of bullshit. It was clear that she hadn't yet laid the stork news on her mom and dad, or maybe even to Lucky Bob either. She had played her cards perfectly, and everybody besides us two and Cornelia was happily ignorant of the bigger picture. I was damn proud of the job we did on that rebel cemetery. The weeds were chest high, and there were tons of garbage to haul away, as people for years had used the place as a dumping ground. We got the site all cleaned up, all the way down to raked earth. One afternoon it rained just before sundown, with the light coming in at a long slant from the west and the water puddling in the natural indentations. The plan of the place revealed itself as clearly as a message from the Lord. I got busy driving stakes and running string lines, marking each individual grave with a large rock or whatever came to hand. The markers, mostly small rounded top tablets of marble, were scattered, but probably close to whosever grave it actually came from. It was pretty clear where the officers' section was. The monuments were more elaborate, more shade, better drainage, and there was much more evidence of grave robbing. Big Mel skinned his shins real bad one day when he crashed through someone's rotten old coffin. He was a superstitious country boy, and I had to do a lot of talking to assure him that the trooper's ghost wouldn't be too angry, considering it was clearly an accident, and how the Rebs must surely be all happy that we were cleaning up and respecting their last campground. There were dangerous, deep holes to fill. Well, that was no problem. A word from Cornelia and her ladies' club got us 20 yards of fresh, clean fill from the city parks department, delivered, spread, and filled in by a convict crew from the county jail. Most of the markers were broken the same way, one crack across the weak middle. An old stonemason took an interest in what we were doing and showed me how to make a real sticky mortar from white cement and superfine clean sand mixed up with some homemade bonding agent made from rotten eggs. When it set up, it was stronger at the joint than anywhere else on the slab. I filed down a big spike, which made a perfect tool to rescribe the lost details in the patched up crack. Some of the details of life I just had to make up. We also made a footing for every last marker with 2 stubs of rebar going into holes we drilled into the bottom of the slabs. Set it down on a bed of that good mortar. 100 years later, they might have to do the job again, but I bet our markers will hold up much better than the first ones did. I had a hard time saying goodbye to Cornelia. She had been so wonderful to take me in off the road, a stranger, and give me a place to stay and good work. Best of all, she was a cultured, well-traveled lady, stone beautiful in her day, and we spent many a fine evening talking about anything under the sun. She told me that she had once gone on a church-sponsored tour to the so-called Holy Land, and what she saw over there almost turned her into an atheist, which her late husband had always secretly been anyway. She told me she wanted to have dear Ned's nearly new Chevy pickup, wanted me to have it, that we had used so much on our job. I told her I couldn't take it. She packed me a big lunch and I decided to go have a last look at the graveyard. Sat under a big maple tree with the dead rebel officers and reached into the big sack lunch she made me for a sandwich. There was a long stiff envelope in the sack. Inside were 10 20s and a note. Dear Albert, she wrote, when you came to us, it was on a freight train. It would please me so much if you used this gift to buy a Pullman ticket, as befits the fine young businessman you have become, to go somewhere where you can let your light truly shine. You have given us so much by restoring our veteran cemetery, and I will always treasure the memory of our friendship. Go with God, Cornelia. And Albert switches the machine.